Hello everyone and welcome to WWE What Could Be. Please take a trip along with me to my fantasy booking mind palace where we think about what WWE could do with a future storyline. Now this week I've been thinking a lot, mostly about how awesome it is that Kevin Owens is the Universal Champion, but also I've been thinking a lot about Big Cass. And not in the way you're thinking or the way Vince McMahon thinks about him. I've been thinking about, well, Big Cass looks like he's going to be positioned down the line for a big singles push. So, being the smarky mark that I am, I thought, what better person to plan that push than myself? So this is WWE What Could Be Cass's singles run. Now the rules for this one, and I need to make this abundantly clear, I am not breaking up Enzo and Cass. That would be stupid, and that should never happen. I'm also not turning Cass heel or turning Cass on Enzo. Again, that would be stupid. Cass will remain a face and all those good things. This is also being done far in the future, so it's not going to be happening like tomorrow. Also, I'll be giving more of a vague timeline than I usually do, as opposed to concrete, this is events when things will happen. Now, like I said, I won't be breaking up Enzo and Cass, but I do need a reason for Cass to be on his own, so I need to hurt Enzo. I kind of need to injure Enzo. I also need Cass to be able to work with someone who we kind of learn under and become a more proficient singles worker so we can work longer and better matches. Ideally, this would be Randy Orton, as he was the one who kind of polished up Sheamus and was set to polish up Roman Reigns. But since he's on SmackDown and I don't want to break that Chinese wall of the brand split, I need someone else. I need a veteran who can help Cass as a single, but also is a heel enough where he can injure Enzo and put him out for a while. That task falls to Chris Jerhico. I think he'll be a perfect fit for what I need, but first, in order for this to work, we need Enzo and Cass as a tag team to have climbed the mountain, which means we need to put the belts on them, and that means we need to take them off New Day. Now, ideally what I want to have happen, the New Day have beaten Demolition's record, hold the record for the longest reign ever of tag teams ever, and have yet to cross paths with Enzo and Cass. Now I have the two face teams cross paths, they have a good match at a pay-per-view, it ends with a roll-up, and then it ends with a handshake. A little begrudgingly on New Day's part, but the reign doesn't last long as the next night on Raw. New Day, a much more serious New Day, comes out and challenges Enzo and Cass for their rematch that night. The match goes on. Enzo and Cass are looking to hit the rocket pop or the boom shakalaka. Enzo trips. Cass, looking to make sure Enzo's alright, gets met with Big E in the corner doing a splash. Enzo gets knocked off the top rope and falls to the floor. Oh my gosh, scary. Cass recovers, turns around, and gets hit with the Trouble in Paradise from Kofi, and then into a big ending. 1, 2, 3. New Day are the champs again. Cass immediately goes out of the ring to check on Enzo. The New Day stands there looking to extend the hand. Cass just looks away. Him and Enzo walk to the back. We're going to start with this idea that Enzo's going to kind of cost him and Cass big matches. So it's announced the next week there will be a tag tournament to determine the new number one contenders for the New Day. Enzo and Cass make it through the first round by beating, say, Jerhico and a mysterious other heel, say, I don't know, Jinder Mahal. We just need someone to take the pin in the match that isn't Jerhico. We're setting Enzo and Cass on a collision course with the Club because the Club are going to really help with what I need. They're big, rough, tumble, bald guys. They have a match with the Club. Similar a thing happens to what happened with the New Day, going for the rocket pop. This time, Gallows clocks Cass and shoves Enzo off the top rope. Now this causes Cass to become enraged. He attacks Gallows. He's so focused because someone hurt Enzo that he has blinders on. He becomes enraged. He becomes sloppy. He doesn't see a giant knee coming from Carl Anderson. The Club hits the Magic Killer. 1, 2, 3. Enzo is still on the outside of the ring, so the Club go and circle around him. Enzo tries to bow up, but he eats another big boot from Gallows, and then gets hit with the Boot of Doom. As the Club are going to hit him with a second Boot of Doom, Cass clears out the Club, and you can tell that he has just this anger. We need to show this kind of protective nature he has for Enzo, as it'll help later on when we actually take Enzo out. Which is going to happen very shortly. The next week, we have a highlight reel with Chris Jerhico bringing on Enzo and Cass. Now, we need to start sowing the seeds of Jerhico trying to be a thorn in Big Cass's side. He brings up, well, Cass, how do you think you'd be doing if you didn't have Enzo that you had to look after all the time? Cass, how do you think you'd be doing if Enzo hadn't cost you those matches? Just over and over again. To the point Cass says, I want to fight you, Jerhico. Match is set after the highlight reel. Enzo tries to get involved by beckoning Chris over onto the apron. Big Cass goes in for a boot. Jerhico ducks. Cass blasts Enzo off the apron, looking stunned. Oh my god, what have I done? I hurt my little buddy. I hurt the guy I'm supposed to be protecting. He turns around right into a code breaker. Now is when Jerhico is gonna get evil. Jerhico goes out, gets a chair, bashes Cass a couple of times. Now, admittedly, we are going to be a little silly and kind of old WWE. Jerhico reaches under the ring, grabs a pair of handcuffs Cass to the bottom rope, and then he goes to work on Enzo. Repeated chair shots to the back, brings Enzo in, code breaker, more chair shots, then he locks him in the walls. He sits down. Enzo, screaming in pain, he's locked in the walls for an excruciatingly long time. All Cass can do is look on and see that his buddy's being hurt. Enzo's reaching out for Cass. Cass is reaching back for him. Enzo's tapping furiously until you finally just see his arm go limp. He's passed out from the pain. Jerhico wrenches back one more time, drops the legs, turns to Cass, holds up a hand to his mouth and says, "Oops," and then leaves. Immediately, refs are able to finally get in, so they uncuff Cass. Cass shoves away all the medical personnel, and he carries Enzo's body out of the arena. It's announced that Enzo has suffered multiple back injuries, possibly a broken back. I don't know if we want to go that extreme or that silly, but Cass comes out and tries to cut their intro promo, but he just can't do it without Enzo. And now we're going to start seeing him building a much more darker Cass. We're going to have to break him down so we can eventually build him back up. We aren't ever going to turn him heel. Cass eventually gets to the point where he can't even come out to his and Enzo's music. He just comes out and has his matches, but he's all the time he wants Jerhico. He is chasing Jerhico. He wants the guy who hurt Enzo. This leads to a series of about 3 months worth of matches between Cass and Jerhico. Again, I'm going to be in a bit of vagary here as I don't want to plan out everything because that may take a little too long. Over the course of this, you see Cass getting better. As, like I said, we want to stick him under a learning tree, and Chris Jericho is a pretty good learning tree to stick him under. It gets to the point, say, around SummerSlam time, because I think that'll probably be in New York again, so it could be a good pop moment here, that it's set up an 8-man tournament to determine a new number 1 contender for the U.S. title, with the tournament culminating at SummerSlam and the U.S. title match happening that night. So we have a crash course set for Cass to find his way to Jerhico. They meet in the finals at SummerSlam. Now, Cass, like I said, has picked it up since working with Jerhico, so they do put on a pretty good match. They give him about 15-20 minutes. Jerhico has Cass locked in the walls, and then we hear the do-do-do-do-do-do. You're soft, you're sloppy. They call me Poppy. This is the worst Enzo impression you've heard today. But then you see, struggling to walk, but walking with, say, I don't know, let's give him a cane because I think it'd be cool to give him a prop. Enzo Amore has returned at SummerSlam. Jerhico can't believe it. Enzo makes his way down. Jerhico's still stunned. He finally reaches down to Cass, who's down on the mat. Enzo slaps on the apron saying, "Cass, get up!" Like out of frickin' Rocky, Cass looks up to see Enzo. 2 fists in the mat. Pops up. Cass has new life. The darkness that he's been through is lifted, and he beats the crap out of Chris Jericho. Hits the East River Crossing. 1, 2, 3. Now from there he can go on. I don't know if you put the U.S. title on him that night. It might be good. It might be another good feel-good moment if he wins the championship. But you could do a lot of good in a program with him and Rusev. Again, with Enzo having some back problems. Overall, there is a lot of potential with Cass as a single star. But I don't see them breaking up Enzo and Cass anytime soon, or if they ever should. If they keep them as a tag team for the length of their career, that'd be perfectly fine. But it is fun every once in a while to think about what could be.